I want to start to focus in, and I don't know, Haley, so are you going to go to the break at 4? Are you going to continue, and we'll have a break here in a few minutes? Okay. Just as an introduction, if you could, and then we'll go to a break about 15 after, and we'll get into the seriousness of this entire situation, which, first of all, I've told you this 1,000 times, our hearts are with you and your family and everything you've gone through with what appears to be, at least at this point in time, Kelsie's disappearance under some very unusual circumstances, some that we are working on, the police is working on, and many of your family and friends are diligently trying to find the answers to. But this all started right around February 4th, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that just for a couple minutes? How you understand the events of that night and everything?
That morning, well, Kelsie had found out previously, just through home pregnancy tests, that she was pregnant. And the morning of February 4th, she had her actual first doctor's appointment, ultrasound, all of that good stuff, to confirm the pregnancy. I was able to speak with the doctor personally myself. She said, healthy mom, healthy baby, no concerns about Kelsie's behavior. You know, she seemed happy, so everything was all good there. So that's how her day started on February 4th, and then she went on to her job at Floor and Decor
in Denver.
In Denver, yeah, Highlands Ranch. Yeah, Kelsie is a Denver resident, so she was working at Floor and Decor in Highlands Ranch. And so she put in her time there. I guess to backtrack a little bit, she was asked by her boyfriend earlier in the day to drive down to Pueblo, where he lives, to meet with him so that they could speak in person. And we know that happened. And after that, we really don't know what happened. Kelsie has virtually disappeared.
We're going to go to a break here in about a minute, but when we come back, I want to kind of explain the chronological sequence of events, the time we believed she arrived in Pueblo, the parking of the vehicle at the Southside Walmart, and then subsequently the time lapse from when it was moved by someone, we have our suspicions, to St. Mary Corwin Hospital, and then some of the things that have transpired. We'll talk a little bit about the Pueblo Police Department and their effort in this, and I have a number of questions, but I think it's important for our listeners. So give us a call, 582-1467, an important topic. If you have any information on Kelsie Schilling, please give us a call today or call local law enforcement or Crime Stoppers. There is a reward of $25,000, and we want to bring that up. Mary Mraz, myself, Dan Corsentino, on behalf of Judge Dennis Mays, will be right back after this.
And we're back. This is Mary Mraz here with Dan Corsentino. And of course we have our guest in-house. We've got Laura Schilling, Saxton. And of course Russ Catalano. And we're discussing and of course Haley Sue. I can't forget Haley Sue. She's got her glasses on today.
She does, yeah. Yeah, and this is an amazing case that has taken place out of Pueblo. I don't know how many missing young adults we have out of Pueblo right now. There's not a lot. I think if there's one other, I'd be surprised. But this is clearly our priority. So we ask our listeners to think as you're driving or sitting home right now. If you have any information, please call the Pueblo Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, or myself, and let us pass it on. We encourage you to contact Crime Stoppers if you wish to remain anonymous. And this is the disappearance of Kelsie Schilling. So let's go back to that day, if we can. February 4th, we left off where basically Kelsie had driven back to Pueblo at the request of her boyfriend. She arrived here at approximately what time?
Well, as far as we can tell, it was probably between 10 and 10:30 p.m. She got off of work at around 8:30. She was having a phone conversation with one of her friends on her drive down to Pueblo. So that was confirmed with the friend that they were actually talking on the phone, and that Kelsie had, said she was on her way to Pueblo to meet the boyfriend, to talk about the pregnancy. So we know that she was en route to Pueblo after 8:30, and we think she probably arrived maybe 10:30 or so.
Right. And when she arrived, she had to wait here for a little bit. We know that. And then at some point we believe that she met her boyfriend.
Correct.
Okay, we believe that. And subsequently after that, she vanished.
Right.
Okay, so we don't know what happened. We don't know if she decided to leave. We don't know if there was foul play. We don't know if there was any type of argument, verbally or a physical altercation. Anything at this point is pure speculation. But what we do know is that her car was left at the Southside Walmart parking lot, correct?
Correct.
And approximately what time was that?
That would be the following morning, or I guess around noon, shortly after noon. There is video surveillance of Kelsie's car being driven into the Walmart parking lot, driven by a male. Kelsie is not seen in the surveillance video at all. The car is dropped there. The driver walks around the backside of the store, and then past that, we're not exactly sure what happened.
So the driver walks around the backside of the store and subsequently departs and is separated from the store. There's some speculation he was picked up. There's some speculation he departed on his own. We're still trying to work through that. Subsequently, that car is then moved to where and when?
So the car sat there for, I believe, not quite 24 hours, but the following morning, which would be February 6th, the car was, the video surveillance again shows what looks to be a male going to the car, getting in and driving off. The car then, we don't know where it is for approximately another 24 hours. When on February 7th, video surveillance from St. Mary Corwin Hospital shows the car being pulled into the lot around 5 a.m. It was too dark to tell who was driving, and there is no other video that shows basically anything about the car, where it went, who got out of it, those types of things. They just happened to have the emergency room surveillance video that did pick up the car being driven into the lot on the 7th. And it essentially sat there for a full week before somebody, I suppose security at the hospital, noticed that it had been basically abandoned there, and it was reported on February 14th and called into the police that the car had been located.
Okay. And at that point in time, the police became involved, and quite aggressively in the beginning, to the point that they did what they were supposed to do. They treated it as very suspicious. We know that the police department, Neil Robinson is heading up the investigation, and he had directed it to undergo a thorough test for any type of physical evidence, DNA testing, luminol testing, and others, just to try and make a determination of if there was potential foul play. And to the best of our knowledge at this point in time, there's not a lot that had taken place. The FBI was also notified, and the FBI became involved in the case also, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So here we are, and today is July 10th, and about 2 months ago, we became involved, myself with you and your family, and I've been trying to help facilitate the situation, to bring together Pueblo, to work with the police department, and to find Kelsie and bring her home. And if there are any leads out there that may present themselves, certainly we want to know what those leads are. You're here this week for the next 2 or 3 days, and our goal in this is to bring a greater awareness to our community about your daughter, correct?
That's correct.
And tomorrow, we meet with the Deputy Chief of Police. In addition to that, we will also be at Praise Assembly Church, and we'll be meeting with a number of ministers throughout the city, and we have further meetings with other community people in the community later in the afternoon, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and all that's good, and we'll be meeting with other media people as we start to progress and this case starts to go. This has been amazing for you, and I got to just compliment you on, frankly, how strong you've been through this. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really have. There's emotional days, I know, but I'm telling you, you have been extremely strong and very committed, and I just want to say to you, thank you for what you've been doing.
Yeah, it's something that you could never imagine. I think the turmoil that it brings, the unknown, the not having any closure, makes it, I think, more difficult than just losing a family member to death, because then you can have closure and go through the grieving process. With this, you don't. Your mind just constantly races, wondering, is she okay? Is she suffering? It's just a very unique situation. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And I have several people tell me that they feel like I'm very strong through this, and I guess I'm glad they think that, because I guess they don't see me when I'm at my worst. But I appreciate all the prayers that are being lifted for Kelsie, for myself, and for our family, because I think that's probably what has kept us going. Otherwise, I just don't know. It's awful. I don't know how to say how horrible it is.
Not too long ago, there was a young woman by the name of Natalie Holloway, which was a famous case in the United States, where she vanished on a high school graduation trip to Aruba, Caribbean country, which is within the Netherlands. And she lived in Alabama at the time of her disappearance, and subsequently really turned into a media sensation. But no matter how much media pressure there was, the benefit was that the media itself launched their own investigation, separate from the local law enforcement. And it was the media that really started to take a look at this Jordan van der Sloot, the individual that was alleged to have been her perpetrator in this case. Do you think it's time that the media steps up to the plate, perhaps, and assists in this, or would that be a hindrance?
I definitely say, if I have one regret, and I think the rest of my family would agree with me on this, is that when Kelsie went missing, and the case started out with Denver police, and then it transferred down here to Pueblo when they realized that this was actually where she was missing from. It was kind of put across to us that the police department would rather we didn't talk to the media a lot. They wanted to just be able to gather evidence and not have fear of anything being leaked or whatnot. And we did. We had a lot of media outlets interested in this story, and we turned them down at that time. Just because we tried to do what the police department asked us to do. We wanted to cooperate with them and let them do their work. And I would have to say that is a huge, huge regret. After about 3 months time when, not much more was going on, we really realized at that point that we wished we had gone to the media initially, and I do think that we would like to have more media involvement at this point in time.
Yeah.
I think the more exposure, the better.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Mary? You think the more exposure, the better?
Absolutely, because it keeps it fresh in people's minds. They're always looking, and, something you never know might come to a person's mind. I think I knew who this girl is. I think I know this situation, and some tip can come forward. People, I think, are more comfortable talking to somebody at the Chieftain or at a news studio or something, even a radio show, and calling them up than they are talking to the police. A lot of times I think people are just a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
And they might bring that tip forward.
Yeah. Russ, we have about a minute left. Russ, any thoughts from Aaron?
Reddit has been used to solve many, many crimes. People on Reddit just doing their own investigations separate than the media and all of this. Social media and the media in general really do help to solve crimes. Maybe at the beginning it might be a hindrance to the police department and everything, but ultimately it puts more pressure on the police than it does stopping them.
Right. And you have to think about all these reporters that might be available and looking around and poking around where they, don't need to be poking around, and they stumble on things, more so than an investigator. In a lot of cases, I think so.
Yeah, I agree. I think my experience from law enforcement is that when the national media gets involved, they are extremely well organized, very, very technical in their search, but they're also a hindrance, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Hey, Dan Corsentino. We'll be right back after this for the Honorable Judge Shelley. And again, we're honored to have in our studio today Laura, Kelsie's mother. Her father is in Sterling, correct, Doug? And
in Holyoke.
Holyoke, okay. And your husband, Neil, who's been down here, spent a lot of time down there, as Doug did, both of them, have made a valiant effort to try and facilitate and be involved in the search for Kelsie. So we thank them for coming down. Kelsie was born on February 18th, 1991. She was 22 years old, 5'4", 120 pounds, dark brown hair, tan. She liked to tan. She worked in a tanning salon.
Correct.
And she had tattoos. Chinese symbol on the back of her neck, cursive writing on the inside of her left arm, ancient key on her left chest, and a fleur-de-lis on the right rib cage. You can go to the Facebook and help find Kelsie. You can call Crime Stoppers, you can call the police, or you can call us here at the radio station and me, and we'll be happy to talk about that. We just want to say, not that this should be a motivating factor, but if you do have any information, there is a $25,000 reward for any information leading to Kelsie's showing. So pass it on to one or two people, and let's invest in Kelsie and bring her home to her family. Laura, if you were saying that if you had to do this over again, one thing would be getting the national media involved, because they were very interested at one time. Correct?
Right. That's correct, yes.
Okay. And one of the reasons is because you think it would have called attention, more attention, at a state level and a national level, and put some pressure on some of the decision makers on how they would have handled the case, perhaps?
I think it would definitely make a difference.
Okay. Any thoughts that you have right now of where you'd like to see this case go?
Well, obviously, I'd like to just find Kelsie and bring her home. Obviously, we're doing.
Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
So, obviously, we'd like to just bring Kelsie home, and we are trying to do and think of just anything that we can think of to try to get the word out, and just hope that someone knows something and will come forward. And we just hope that, if you're out there and you're afraid to come forward, you can definitely come forward anonymously. And we would just pray that you would do that and help us find our girl. And the fact that she is pregnant. If she is unharmed, she is approximately 7 months pregnant at this time. She needs medical attention. And we would just like nothing more than to see her and bring her and the little baby home. And so I just pray that somebody out there will help us one way or another. We need closure to this one way or another.
And it's highly unlikely that maybe she just took off. That possibility still exists. We think it's remote. But your thought process in that is?
I think it's very, less than 1% chance that she could have run off. She was a phone addict. She was always texting, calling, something with her friends, with her family. I just don't honestly believe there's any chance that she could be out there of her own free will and not contact someone. She's just not that kind of girl. She couldn't go that long without contacting a family member or one of her friends.
Yeah. 582-1467. Give us a call if you have any comments on this case. Russ, your thoughts on this? You've been working this case for a little bit without giving away any information. How do you see this at this point in time?
It's just really rough. I mean, you could see information there if you want to see information there, but there really isn't much physical evidence there to support anybody's claim. And I think that's what the police are trying to find right now, is something to try to put this story together to go in one direction or another before they continue on the investigation.
Yeah, from all of my experience, over 23 years in law enforcement, this case is an anomaly because of the lack of physical evidence. I know the police have done everything they can in the triangulation of cell phones and everything of that nature, but there's a gap. You know, we see a timetable where some hours pass and there's an unaccountability factor. It just kind of cuts off, and then after that, when the car is found, her car is found 14 days later, or 7 days later, from at St. Mary Corn parking lot from Southside Walmart, approximately 7 days later. You ask yourself, why didn't we have the video on that? Why couldn't we have had the proper cameras in place for night vision to pick up the individual that was departing and leaving? And did they walk away? Were they given a ride? How tall were they? Would the cameras have been able to specify and answer some of those questions? And at this point in time, we obviously are still taking a look at all that information. So it's extremely difficult, and it's very, very hard. Your son Colby has been involved in this a lot. Can you just share some of his efforts in this?
Well, Colby and his wife, Brittany, have really taken care of the media side of things, if you want to call it that, with developing the Facebook page, with developing the website, helpfindkelsie.com. We've done a mailer. We have Kelsie's friend Bobby has started a campaign for selling the bracelets, and at this time we've sold over 500 of those. We've gone through purple, pink, and now we're on to blue. And Bobby is also trying to organize a fundraiser, a fashion show fundraiser, because that's kind of the business that she is in. So Kelsie has a lot of phenomenal friends, phenomenal brother and sister-in-law who love her and, want her back. We just want to know what happened to her. We all need to know. It hurts. It hurts all of her friends as much as it hurts us.
Absolutely. We are going to press forward with the search. I think it's going to be never-ending, and we are going to reach a point where we have some answers on this. I feel comfortable with that, saying that publicly. It's just going to take some time, more time than we expected. Hey, Dan Corsentino. And we're here with Mr. Catalano. It's nice to have you here. And we're here with Kelsie Schilling's mother. We'll be right back after this. Thank you.
We're discussing the issue of the disappearance of Kelsie Schilling. It was February 4th, and just some suspicious things happening here in Pueblo. And we're trying to get the community involved.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's interesting that there hasn't been, at this point, a break in the case. We know that Kelsie, we believe that the last person to see Kelsie was her boyfriend, and we believe that at that point in time, her boyfriend was believed to have some association with her car, and maybe with also some association with communicating with her by text messages. We believe that to be true, but again, the factual conclusion to that is still up in the air. So there's a lot of information. There's not, and I hate to use this term, but there's not anything conclusive that we can hang a hat on. And I can't speak for the Pueblo Police Department because they've been conducting, I think, Laura, you would agree, a investigation in this case. It's been very closed. They haven't released a lot of information.
Most definitely.
Even to the family.
Yeah, even to us. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
They admit that there are things that they aren't telling us because they don't want them to get or to be leaked.
Right, and they're very, very protective with this investigation. And in many ways, rightfully so. I think that, as Russ was saying, Catalano, who's in the studio with us, they are playing this very close to the vest for a number of reasons. One is for the leaks. Two is in the sealed affidavit that they have right now, they have information in that probably only they know, and perhaps they haven't named a person of interest, but perhaps the person of interest that they have in their mind knows. And so they want to maintain the integrity of the investigation without any compromises to it at this point in time. And I mean, I understand that, but I also understand that there's certain tidbits to the family that the family needs to have as to how far along this investigation is and should be. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Sure. Yeah, and I think a question that a lot of people might have is, did she check into the hospital? Her vehicle was there.
No,
she never checked into the hospital.
No, there's no record of her being at either Parkview Hospital or St. Mary Corwin. There's no record of her being at either hospital.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we thought about was any aliases that could be used at that point in time. Would she have checked in under her normal name, or could she have checked in under another name? And to the best of your knowledge and the best of our knowledge, that's not true. Correct?
Right. I think they tried to check under Schelling, sorry, about said the boyfriend's last name there. Also, with my last name, Saxton, they also searched by birth date. Mm-hmm. And Kelsie was on my health insurance with me also, and there have been no claims come through whatsoever since her doctor's appointment in Denver. So she has not had any medical care that has run through insurance, and she has no money. So she couldn't be, just paying by cash or whatever. I mean, her bank accounts have not been accessed, except on one occasion, and that was not by her. So.
Yeah. So, right now, we're at a standstill, and one of the reasons Laura's here today is to ask for the community's assistance, to ask the community to become invested in this case. If they hear of anything on the street, if their children should talk, if there's something that, even the most minor tip could be something of great significance. Mm-hmm. You really never know what that's going to be.
Right.
What the police may have. Again, we urge people to contact the Pueblo Police Department and give them a call. Call Crime Stoppers. Call myself, Dan Corsentino, and let us, share that information, or at least evaluate it or pass it on, should there be something. So we ask people to do that. It was really interesting. When we took a look at the Cleveland case with Amanda Berry, Gina De Jesus, and Michelle Knight that were found alive in this case, J.C. Dugart was 11 at the time she was abducted in Lake Tahoe in 1991, and she was later found 7 years later. Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped in Salt Lake City from her home in 2002, was at the age of 14, and she was located 18 miles from her home 9 months later. There is hope, and there is always, no matter how depressed the family gets, no matter how frustrating people become in this search and this investigation, you always have to have the candle burning brightly until we find out what actually happened. Mm-hmm. And again, there's too many variables that are out there. You have variables of the unknown, whether a kidnapper could have taken her, whether her boyfriend at that point in time was a person that last saw her, and we do not have complete information on that. There's information as to whether or not Kelsie could have left and just departed, and as Laura said so succinctly and eloquently, that's highly unlikely that she would pack and leave. And one reason is these little things right in front of us, which is a cell phone. Kelsie loved her cell phone, and she was talking to a lot of her friends on that constantly until it just stopped. Pretty crazy. Laura, as we leave in the last 4 minutes here, any closing thoughts, anything you would put out to the Pueblo community on this case?
Yeah, I would just like to ask anyone with any information to please come forward. We do have, again, the $25,000 reward. We've set up a tip line, 855 for Kelsie, that if someone has information, you can also call that number. It's our own personal hotline for the $25,000 reward. You can also call Crime Stoppers. You can call Dan Corsentino. You can call the Pueblo Police Department. I mean, there's just so many avenues that can be used, either anonymously or if you're free to give your name. I'd also just like to ask community members, farmers, ranchers, hikers, anyone to keep your eyes open when you're out and about. Out in the open areas, just, keep an eye open for anything suspicious. There's a lot of territory out here and we can't cover it all. So we would just ask everybody to keep your eyes open as well. Help us in that way.
We will be conducting searches. We're going to notify the public. We are planning on searching a couple key areas. One of them is a private search, which we are not at liberty at this point to reveal until after it's been conducted, but there will be at least a couple other public searches that will be taking place, and we invite the public to participate in those searches, and we'll give dates and times. They should be within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we're looking forward to getting as many members of the community involved as we possibly can.
Yeah, we had a wonderful turnout for the last search that we had. It was just overwhelming and touching, and so we hope that the word would spread even more when we do have those searches where the public can be involved. It was amazing. It brought us to tears to see the people that turned out to help us and to help Kelsie. So we just hope that everyone would find it in their hearts to participate again.
So give us a call, 582-1467, and share your thoughts on this case or any comments that you may make. We appreciate it very much. Laura, I appreciate again you being here. It's going to be a very productive 2 days that you're here. We have a full day planned tomorrow, and certainly on Friday, another full day. And, it would be amazing if we could reach some point where I think you're content with some satisfaction that we either have a new piece of information or the community member would come forth and bring us what we need. So we hope that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Russ, any thoughts on this case as we close this out? You've been assisting working this with me from the IT perspective. Any thoughts?
If you see anything suspicious online, anybody that looks similar to her under different names, just really feel free to report that, and it could be looked into, even if it might not be anything, or if you hear something really small on Facebook, just take a screenshot and send that over to Crime Stoppers or Pueblo Police or Dan and I.
Yeah, we want to get everything we possibly can. We do have a call real quick that's coming in. We're closing in on the top of the hour, so if we can squeeze it in, we will, depending upon who that person is. And if not, we may have to hold them over for just a little bit. But again, this is Dan Corsentino, former sheriff in Pueblo County. And Lucy, we're going to put you on the air real quick, but we do want to ask you to give us a call. Lucy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're on the air, Lucy, real quick.
Yes, I was just wondering why the boyfriend's name can't be mentioned.
Well, we don't mention the boyfriend's name because of the fact that he has not been named as a person of interest in this case by the Pueblo Police Department quite yet. And
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but we all know that he was the last one to see her, and we all know that it's Dante, so why can't his name be brought up? We all know it's Dante Lucas, and we all know he had something to do with it.
okay, well, we don't know if he had something to do with it at this point in time. That's still a missing link in it. And for potential litigation purposes, we can't arbitrarily name people who have not been named as a person of interest by law enforcement. So
Okay.
we'll talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. Thanks.
This is AM 1480, KAVA Pueblo, and translator.
I don't know what is in the mind of people who may have brought harm to another person. You know, I mean, I've been doing this business for over 23 years, and many of our listeners I know are cops out there, and there are people that have been involved in this. And it's interesting because there's so much passion, so much rage, so much anger in so many people, and sometimes they just lose it. You know, they lose it and they violate other people's human rights. And then there's other individuals that have the intent, the plan, and they start plotting. You know, like in the Bobby Sergio case. And that took 6 months. They started planning that crime in June of 2009. In December of 2009, they carried it out. And it's unbeknownst to me how many people have evil in their heart and evil in their mind. It's a sad deal.
Yeah.
You know that firsthand. I know.
I do. I sure do.
Yeah, but we won't get too deep into that. But
No.
you do know all about that. You could, you know, you are a great. You could give a testimonial on this. I mean, you know, everything that you personally have been through over the last couple of years. There's been a lot.
It's been incredible.
It's been a challenge. One day we'll talk about that when we can do it.
Okay.
Kelsey's showing. Let's bring her home. Let's give us a call, 582-1467. Any thoughts on that last segment? If you have a question or a comment at all, if you thought it was interesting or not interesting, we'd like to hear your opinion on that. We want to enhance the visibility of Kelsie showing and her family in this community. That was one of the reasons that we did it. So give us a call and tell us your thoughts on that, 582-1467. Tomorrow, Matt Martin is going to be in studio. We are doing a 3-day-a-week show now because of our heavy